Welcome back to another installment of Honest and Uneducated, the show where we talk about anything from movies, movie news, video games, television, comic books, all sorts of fun stuff like that. Joining me today is none other than Rick Metz himself. How you doing today, Rick?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Other than there being a really slow news week, everything's been going pretty good.
Yeah.
And then we also have Mr. John Knight here. How you doing, John?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I said, guys, actually, real quick too, just off the top, you can submit topics and questions to us that we can cover on the show just by emailing us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. Other than that, guys, let's get into this news story. I think the first one that we're gonna do, which is really like the biggest news that we've had all week, is the Tom Holland Spider-Man 3 movie. As we've had some interesting development with it because Jamie Foxx is said to return to reprise his role supposedly from the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man 2, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 film, which is an interesting choice to say the least, just because the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie was kind of unanimously not very well received by both critics and fans. Not that like Jamie
Yeah.
Foxx or Andrew Garfield was like the problem with it, but like overall, it wasn't necessarily a very good movie. I think most people would kind of agree on, and I think one of the weaker parts of the movie itself was the Electro character. Not that Jamie Foxx was a problem, it was just very poorly written.
Yeah.
It was just like his character was, like, just out of a completely different movie. Like, when you compare it to how the Lizard was in the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, Jamie Foxx's portrayal of Electro and how they wrote him was more of like a Batman and Robin kinda character,
Yeah.
as
I could
opposed
see
to,
that.
a more grounded approach they took in Amazing Spider-Man 1. Even just in the overall tone, let alone just how, like, the Lizard was. So, the way I see it with this, it brings up a lot of interesting theories, right? And I think, 'cause I guess we should say first offhand that it hasn't been 100% confirmed to my knowledge that Jamie Foxx is actually playing Electro. It's just been kind of presumed.
Like a rumor.
So I actually have something on that. I haven't seen it personally, but I did see an article that said that Jamie Foxx actually did confirm it on his personal Instagram the same day that this news broke. Like I think this broke on Friday, and maybe like Friday evening, he put something on his own personal Instagram. It was then deleted, but he said that he would be reprising his role as he would be running it back as Electro, but this time he wouldn't be blue. Which then brings him more in line with the typical Electro, which has always been more of a yellow and black motif than
Right.
blue.
The blue one, though, was like the Ultimate Spider-Man, if I'm not
Exactly.
mistaken, right?
The blue one is very much pulled from the Ultimate, and even the character itself, the way he portrayed him was more the kind of lonely outcast that he portrayed, and came more from, I think, the Ultimate line. Didn't work as well though live screen, I think.
My question is, Rob, did you say that he's reprising his role?
I mean, yeah, that's what it's been. That's what they've been saying.
Is this like a continuation then of that story from the Amazing Spider-Man 2? Because that wouldn't make sense, I don't feel like.
Well, that's the unknown. Like that's the thing that brings in a lot of other questions because it'd be weird because on the one hand you could have it where he's reprising the role, so it's the same exact Electro character just facing off against another Spider-Man thing, so like doing some type of multiverse or Spider-Verse type of thing. The other hand is just you bring Jamie Foxx back just to play a new version of Electro, which
sounds like
it's kind of odd to do that.
Yeah,
like not that it's unheard of, but it'd be.
It's not even unheard of in this series because they brought J. Jonah Jameson out of the first 3 Spider-Man films to reprise his role, and it's or I guess it's not unclear at this point, but he's playing a version of J. Jonah Jameson, but it doesn't look like he's just the continuation out of the Raimi Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's not like the same character, but
But it is the same character.
Yeah.
Though, because it's the same guy playing him. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's like you walk a fine line of it being, is it the same character or a completely different character? Because if it's the same exact person, I mean, you could always argue, I guess, like the multiple worlds theory, to where it's like it's the same guy, he got the same powers, he just acts completely different. I just find that to be a
Yeah.
little like, why would you go through all the effort of doing it at that point? Because if you want to use Electro, just use Electro.
I think people just really like seeing him as J. Jonah Jameson, though. Like he fits the character very well.
Oh yeah, but if anybody to bring back and not recast, J. Jonah Jameson was like the one.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think the same could be said for Jimmy Foxx's Electro.
It's not that memorable. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if anything, like I said, like at least in my opinion, that was like along with Paul Giamatti's Rhino and even Dane DeHaan's Goblin was none of it was done well. So I don't think anyone's been clamoring
The
to see.
Goblin character was very strange.
Yeah, no one's been clamoring to see any of those characters return. I mean, I would have liked to have seen Andrew Garfield continue to be Spider-Man again, but that movie itself was just, I mean, it was enough for them to reboot the entire franchise. I mean, if that tells
He
you
did
anything,
make a good
so.
Spider-Man.
He was a great Spider-Man.
He looked like him. Like that's what I would imagine live action Spider-Man being, even more so than Tom Holland. Like
Right. Well, and that's what brings up the question, because if it's with Jamie Foxx being back now, everyone has been wondering since Sony made the animated Spider-Verse movie if they were ever gonna make a live action Spider-Verse movie
that'd be interesting.
and like bring back Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man and maybe Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man and have them all, you know, on screen in some Spider-Verse movie with Tom Holland. And I think the majority of people probably would have said there's no way, like no way in hell that's going to happen. Like, why would they do that? It's too confusing and it's kind of campy and cheesy, and it would work as like a YouTube sketch or something, but full feature length movie. Like, you know, as it's more gimmicky than anything you would think. Yeah. But I mean, now with Jamie Foxx coming back as Electro, all bets are kind of off. Like, what do you think the odds are that we do see, like, one of the, you know, Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire coming back, or even them just doing a, like, building towards a Spider-Verse movie? Because another thing that could be happening is Doctor Strange and like the Multiverse of Madness, right? The sequel to Doctor Strange is literally called the Multiverse of Madness, and we know that the Scarlet Witch WandaVision show is supposed to tie into Multiverse of Madness in some way, and like I guess both of those movies are going to be preceding Spider-Man 3. So, what are the odds that maybe the MCU is leaning more heavily into the multiverse than we kind of, I don't know, have been led to believe in some way? Not that I mean, they always play their cards close to the vest, so I mean, no one really knows. We just have like the title and know that it's going to kind of bleed over. But like, what are the odds that they just lean into that and bring in and do like a Spider-Verse movie, but more on the crux of the Multiverse of Madness kind of thing, as opposed to some Spider-Verse like redo?
Yeah, like the animated.
Yeah. You know?
Well, I love the idea of them doing an all-out multiverse, and you know, then you're not confined by this is our timeline, this is what has happened. Is, you know, these characters can't come back because they're dead or whatever, or you have to come up with some convoluted way to resurrect characters. Part of me wonders if they're really willing to jump that deep into it, because at the end of the day, you're right, it can get confusing to people to see. Like, let's say they bring Topher Grace back to nobody's asking for that, but what if he comes back as Eddie Brock, and then you've got Tom Hardy's Venom running into Topher Grace's Venom,
destroy him.
Or James Franco comes back as the Goblin
Sure.
Kid, with his flying snowboard.
Yeah.
Great
I think people are gonna be like, well, wait a minute, I guess I get the idea of multiple versions of these characters, but this is a little much.
Right, because I could see them doing something like that for, you know, like when the Flash is running through the Speed Force and you just get a glimpse of like another world. I could see them doing something like that, or even like when Doctor Strange gets pushed through by the Ancient One through like all the other dimensions and stuff. Like, as he's tumbling through, like, oh, there was Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, cool.
Yeah.
But like making a whole movie, like I don't know. It just becomes convoluted. like more so than anything. Not that it couldn't be pulled off, and it'd be pretty cool. Like I definitely would say, like a Spider-Verse movie would work, but is it really like needed? Like I don't know. I guess no movie is really needed, but I don't know.
I'm also wondering too, like the multiverse of madness that they gave that subtitle that they gave to the next Doctor Strange. If it does tie into Wanda, if WandaVision ends up being a multiversal type show where they explore different realities, just the word mind or verse of madness, the madness idea. I'm wondering if that's more happening in Wanda's head, and maybe it's affecting reality to a certain extent, but that's more her affecting reality than it is them actually jumping full into an entire multiverse. Maybe she's just imagining these alternate realities in her head, but they're not willing to go, okay, these all exist. And
right. That's the thing is like it's gonna be hard to say. We'll probably have a better idea of where they could go, like how far they're willing to go after we see WandaVision, maybe. But
sure.
I mean, they haven't really.
There's a lot they could do with that.
There's so much they could do. They could. That's the thing. I always imagine too if they were going to do anything as far as multiverse related. I don't know, WandaVision in relation to like the multiverse of madness thing. I figured House of M would be the most logical way to go, not necessarily completely redo everything to the extent that she did in the comics, but no, it's just weird that the first sign of anything is Jamie Foxx's Electro.
Yeah.
Like, because if you're gonna bring someone back to reprise a role like J. Jonah Jameson, I can't remember his name right now, but bringing him back, J.K. Simmons, yeah, bringing him back, of course, you know what I mean.
People
that
are
makes
itching
sense.
to see Jamie Foxx back as Electro. Like
No one is.
Not that I know of.
And of all those ex Spider-Man people to bring back, why not Molina, like Doc Ock? Why not bring that guy back to do it? Why not bring Willem Dafoe as like Norman Osborn back? Like those are characters that were like
memorable.
Yeah, they were done well in the movie, and like Willem Dafoe's suit wasn't very good, but
maybe it's the idea that they didn't do well with Jamie Foxx. They did so poorly with that character that they wanted that he was interested in doing it again, and they were interested in trying to give him a chance to give him a better, what am I looking for? A better story to work with.
Right.
Like Willem Dafoe might have been like, "Hey, look, I'm good. I did it. I think I was pretty happy with it." Same with Doc Ock, Molina. He might have been like, "Hey, look, that's a pretty universally acclaimed movie. There, I'm not going to mess with it. I'm good."
Yeah.
Well, I could see too. No one's really like talked about this. I don't know if like would have anything to do with it, and who would know. But I'm wondering if like maybe back in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 days, I wonder if like he had like some byline in his contract. Like, what if he was like somewhat contractually obligated to reprise Electro in some ways?
True.
Like, not that because it's always typically an option, like at the studio's discretion, like if to have that person come back. You know, it's technically speaking, but every contract that these people make are different. Like their agent could have like slipped something in there that said like, you know, 2 pictures minimum for him to do, like, or you can't use the character like at all. Like, I'm wondering if maybe they were like forced to in some
because it was the writing necessarily. It wasn't like his acting.
Jamie Foxx is an awesome actor.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. I don't think anybody would argue that he's an Oscar-winning actor, right? Like he won for Ray, did he not? Like he won Best Actor. Like he's a fantastic actor, and I like him and everything. He was good. He's good in everything he's in, other than honestly, like he was actually. It's not that he was bad as Electro. It's just they wrote that character so poorly.
Yeah.
Like he did a fine job playing a very shitty character. It was just the character that wasn't very. The character definitely didn't leave anybody asking for more. Like, and that's why I just think it's the oddest thing, like to bring him back. In any way, really. And I feel like it's more isn't it more odd to bring him back to play like a completely different Electro? Like if it's not gonna be the same, because if it's not gonna be the same character, why bring Jamie Foxx back altogether? Like, unless there was some contractual obligation thing, like that
Well,
makes him have to be Electro again if they're going to use Electro.
with like J.K. Simmons and J. Jonah Jameson, there's not much else that character is. Like, he is who he is. With the Electro thing, you could do a totally different like style of character, whatever. And I don't know.
Well, and to be fair, beyond God, his name just left my head. Beyond Tom Holland playing Spider-Man, Tom Holland was pretty unknown when they cast him, but they've cast pretty decent named villains as our actors as the villains in these movies so far. I mean, you had Michael Keaton in the first one, and then you had
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal, yeah, thanks, in the last one. So maybe it was just like you said. Maybe they had a contract with Fox. They were like, we're going to stick with this idea that we're bringing in a well-known actor to play a role, and this is the direction we want to go. So why not do it with them?
What do you think they are like? The end game is to actually like do like some Spider-Verse kind of stuff, though.
I don't know.
Like, or do you think like if you had to guess, this is gonna be because we're not gonna know like until I don't know. I guess the movie comes out or we just get more word that this is 100% the same Electro, or if it's just the same actor playing a completely different character. Like you had to guess if you were in charge of Sony, which way are you going with that?
I'd say he's totally different.
Yeah, I'm with Rik. He's Electro, but he's not the Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I would kind of, if I was that Sony, I feel like I would have to go the other way with it. Because I feel like in my mind, there's like no reason to bring Jamie Foxx back at that point. Like other than, yeah, he's a fantastic actor, but you could, like you were kind of saying, Tom Holland was relatively unknown. And like unknowns are a lot cheaper for the studio than now you got to bring Jamie Foxx back, pay him top dollar to come back and do this. Not that he wouldn't want to do it, but he's going to ask for more than a lot of other unknown people would.
Although, I mean, doing this, the other side of that coin, I guess, is that how many people are going to be interested in what in the hell is going on now? Like, the whole idea that they're doing this is so out there and weird and strange that buzz, that interest may be what they were looking for.
Well, you don't think though, too, like in the end, like since like we were saying, it wasn't a very like well-received character or anything. Do you think it would kind of hurt the hype for it though? Because in my mind,
have negative feelings about it. So
that's
true.
Yeah, because like I mean, like in my mind, when I first heard the news, I was just like, character sucked. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, I don't like the only thing that I was actually excited about was cool. Then presumably it's not going to be an angry Tony Stark ex-employee that Tom Holland's going to fight again. So like that's the only benefit of him coming back as the villain in some way. Like unless I guess they could still weave that in somehow, but I don't know. I guess given his power set, I could see like him being able to do something like multiverse related. Like, like if they want to like cheese some fake science thing into like his electrical current transferred through this and that, and now he's in every dimension or something, like a piece of him everywhere. Like you can make something up. It's comic book stuff.
Yeah,
sure.
But what if he does come back and play the same role? Like if it's an actual reprisal, what are the odds that we see a Spider-Verse movie like with Tom or with Andrew Garfield reprising the role of Peter Parker and or Tobey Maguire?
Toby, yeah.
So it's an interesting question. Obviously, we have this kind of I don't know if schism's the right word, but this idea that Sony kind of Disney wants a bigger piece of the Spider-Man pie, but Sony still holds all the rights. And I wonder if there's some sort of idea or deal in place where Sony retains or Marvel is able to continue using Tom Holland in their movies, but Sony wants to bring in the Miles Morales version of Spider-Man and start producing their own standalone movies apart from the MCU with him, so that they can work him into the Venom verse and stuff like that. That would allow if they do jump into the multiverse and they do bring Miles in, then you can end up having Miles Morales end up in Tom Hardy's Spider-Man or Venom movies, and then you don't necessarily need Peter because you've got that Spider-Man character still showing up.
Well,
True.
that's the thing too. I'm kind of thinking that, like, because I think we talked about this a week or so ago. Like, I think they're it's like just merging that stuff all like outright because of Michael Keaton showing up in that Morbius trailer.
That's
Like,
right.
it seems like because you can't have Michael Keaton be Vulture in one movie and then Tom Holland not be Spider-Man in that movie. Like, it goes hand in hand at that point. Which that's why the Jamie Foxx playing Electro with Tom Holland as Spider-Man is like a wild card because there has to be some sort of explanation as to how he's here. So if it's not multiverse related, I guess you could just trying to explain to somebody that it's like the multiple worlds theory. I think is more complicated for people than just saying like it's like multiverse stuff. So he's here now. Like I don't know. Especially like I just can't imagine them bringing him back and like making his electricity yellow instead of blue, and like he's a
Yeah,
completely different guy, acts completely different, and he still calls himself Electro, but it's the same guy.
but he's not
It's
blue anymore.
yeah, but he's yellow now. It's
Yeah,
like okay, like it'd be one thing if it was a different actor doing it. Like I could totally see them going that route, but like no, I think it's like, I know I've kinda said that I'm, kind of against the multiverse, Spider-Verse thing happening in some ways just because it can be just, like, a slippery slope of, like, cheesiness in some degree, but if you're gonna bring a character like this back, like, I feel like you gotta go all in on it and just make it good. You know,
yeah,
like, if
Yeah.
you're gonna bring him back, then go all in on the multiverse stuff and, like, bring Andrew Garfield into it or bring Tobey Maguire into it or just you don't have to bring either of them into it, but just lean heavy into the fact that, like, something happened in the multiverse, and now we have villains that are from a different reality, being like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Like, because you can have fun with that, you know what I mean?
you could.
Like Jamie Foxx's character, like obviously hates Spider-Man to some degree, so he comes like to this world and he sees Spider-Man, and it's like they can have nice dialogue with each other, just like. But Tom Holland's like, I don't even know who you are, like Thanos, you know, like, but he's all mad at him. Like, I don't even know who you are. Like,
So we were talking about like how they need more content for these streaming services that are out there. Do you think this is a way for Sony to, if they do bring Jamie Foxx over as Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2, do you think this is a way for them to possibly do an Amazing Spider-Man 3 to wrap up that story on whatever Sony's streaming platform is?
I mean, the possibility is always there. I would somehow, I would think it'd be more likely for them to do the Miles Morales thing instead of that, though,
Yeah,
just
that's what I would
because,
say.
like, I don't know. I feel like it's easier and like not so much easier, but like I don't know. It's like I guess they're bringing. I was going to use the example of like you don't want two different Batman movies coming out at the same time. You know what I mean? But then I thought like, well, Ben Affleck is coming back as Batman in the Flash movie, and Michael Keaton is coming back as Batman in the Flash movie, and Robert Pattinson is playing Batman in a
And
Batman
is that,
movie.
yeah,
So I don't know because like I've always said, the fans aren't like stupid, and the people watching these like that's what everyone would always complain about. Is just like, oh, things are like too confusing and stuff. And I don't really mean confusing when I was saying it before. It's not so much confusing for like the fans to understand. It's just the story becomes confusing, like plot hole wise. I guess I should kind of elaborate on that because things just kind of get messy when you use like time travel and multiverse stuff because it's more or less just like lazy writing in some ways
Yeah,
because any plot hole you have, you just say, "Oh, it was because of time travel, though." Like that's why that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, it's multiverse stuff. That explains why we wrote it that way. Duh. Like, I mean, it's just
yeah.
kind of it can become a lazy way of writing. Not so much like
blame it on time travel. Like,
exactly. Not so much as confusing for people to understand because like the fans aren't stupid. Anybody going to watch, you know, this Spider-Man movie is gonna have seen Multiverse of Madness more than likely, at least a
you
large
would think so.
majority of them. So if there was like a tie-in there, I think the MCU alone has proven because they have it all connected that like people are paying attention to some degree. So I don't know. I just feel like in the end, like if you're gonna bring him back, just go all in with the multiverse stuff thing. Because like once you start to try to do it in any other way, not that I would mind him just coming back because he's like a great actor and playing Electro again, but I'd almost rather him to see him play something completely different. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I think you could do a lot more with it, and you go so many more places. Like just in the future, if you say like, no, it's the same guy. Like he could still act completely different though. Like if they do have him come back and play the exact same character, I hope they write him better. Like
Yeah,
I'd be totally like he's evolved over time. You know, maybe he's not as such a dweeby little
yeah.
bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, like
He was pretty.
but that would be my only hope is that no matter what they do, is they just write it better. What do you think too? If like, what if Kevin Feige's just like he all fucked up that stuff? So just watch how we do it. I'll even
True.
bring Jamie Foxx back. Yeah, that
Just to prove
shitty
my
character.
point,
Yeah, just
yeah.
to show you how good we are at telling these stories. Okay, like I can see that happening too. Like I don't know, but I imagine in the end, though, in all reality, they have to have some sort of idea for this. I just don't see why you would go back and like bring someone back to do this. Like unless they had some sort of idea. Like I don't see the MCU just throwing someone in there for campy reasons. Like just for
No,
like
I
cuteness. Like
I believe no, you're exactly right. They have a plan. There is a definite plan for why he is showing up. And I mean the other thing that kind of is interesting about this whole thing is how much longer is Tom Holland Spider-Man going to be a part of the MCU? What's the new deal that's in place between them, and how long does it? I mean, last I heard, it only exists for one more Spider-Man movie, and I'm guessing maybe a Marvel movie as well. But you know, how much longer is he going to be around?
I think Tom Holland, I get the vibe that he'd probably play Spider-Man as long as he can play Spider-Man.
Sure.
You know, like as long as they'd want him to. Like,
Yeah.
You know,
As long as Sony and Marvel can.
Yeah.
He's definitely the most like popular iteration of Spider-Man, I would say.
Yeah.
Like over the years.
Yeah. I mean, definitely the most. I don't know, probably well received. Yeah. I mean, everybody really loved Tobey Maguire, and he's probably my least favorite Spider-Man. Even though, like, his Spider-Man 2 movie is still probably the best one. Like to this day, it's still the best Spider-Man movie, I'd say. Even though he's my least favorite Spider-Man himself, but I don't know.
All right, there's what? There's 7 Spider-Man movies. Is that right? The 3.
The 3 Raimi ones, the 2. Yeah, there's 7. Yeah,
7. So, what can you rank them real quick? What's your ranks?
Okay, I can start from
too much on the spot.
No, this is it's actually easy. I'll start from the bottom.
Okay.
So Spider-Man 3, Raimi Spider-Man 3 is the worst Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Then, this is a tough call. Then probably Amazing Spider-Man 2. Then it gets kind of, you could honestly trade the rest out to some degree, other than number 1 probably being Spider-Man 2. I would say probably then, if I had to, I'd go like Homecoming, Far From Home, Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man 2. Probably how I'd go. Like maybe I might switch Homecoming and Spider-Man 2 though around, or Spider-Man 1. I don't know. Like,
I'd put Amazing Spider. I think I'd put Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 1, then maybe Homecoming, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then Far From Home, and then the rest of the Raimi ones.
I haven't watched the Raimi ones in probably 10 years, so I probably should watch them before I definitively say.
It would be interesting to like see it again.
Yeah.
They're good, and I'm really fond of them because at the time, like, I never thought I'd see a Spider-Man movie. That's so like, yeah, you were never going to get those. But so the fact that they exist at all is amazing. No pun intended. But they
see, I always wanted the new Spider-Man series to be called Spectacular Spider-Man because of that. Because they went Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and then they should have gone Spectacular Spider-Man, and then made Miles and just did Ultimate Spider-Man like they were supposed to. Like that just made the most logical sense to me, but they never.
Yeah, but the dialogue in those Raimi Spider-Man movies, some of that is really hard to get through. As bad as the characters were written in Amazing Spider-Man at some points, at least their dialogue came off somewhat natural. Some of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man dialogue is just
it's super cheesy.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I don't know if overall I would like.
the
It's just
Goblin
hard to say.
costume in Spider-Man
I know
One.
it
Like,
sucked. It did suck.
It was wild at the time. Like as a kid, I thought it was sweet.
But even then, it's just because the internet wasn't a big thing. Like people really hated it because his face. I didn't like it either as a kid because I
Just
was
like,
like, his face is so like you don't get anything out of his face.
Yeah.
Like
No.
it's just a mask. It's a helmet. It looks like a motorcycle helmet. Like it's just like, and then like Willem Dafoe's in there talking, but the whole time you just see that face. Like,
Yeah.
and you get nothing out of it. And it's just a shame because you have Willem Dafoe, one of the most expressive faces
Oh,
like,
for sure.
in the world. You could have just painted him green and just let him go. Like it would have been perfect. But they put the stupid helmet on. I don't know. I probably do. I probably would put the Amazing Spider-Man 1 as like number 2 because I think Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire's, despite like I said, I don't really care for Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker all that much. But that was still like overall, I think the most.
You didn't
well
like his
done.
symbiotic Spider-Man? The
No,
dance?
Spider-Man. It's like I don't know what they were thinking with that movie. Like I know like the problems that went into making it on Raimi's end because like he was forced to include Venom and stuff, but I don't really think that it's still no excuse to make a shit movie. Like if the studio is mandating you to use Venom, then make a good Venom movie. Make a good movie with Venom in it. Don't just write it in and make it crappy just because it wasn't your initial plan. You know, not that I'm blaming him for it. I wasn't there. I don't know what the problem was like altogether, but
they went so far away from the comic. Like Eddie Brock, to cast Topher Grace as Eddie Brock was just such a weird choice, and it was. I get what he was trying to do. The kind of the parallel Peter Parker.
Right.
Tobey Maguire and Topher Grace have similar builds. They have similar mannerisms. I get what he was going for with that. This is the other Spider-Man, but it just didn't. It was such a diversion from what they did in the comics, and I think what people wanted to see out of Venom. It just it didn't work well.
Yeah, because like what's his name? Thomas Hayden Church, like a Sandman, he was great in that movie.
Yeah.
Like he was great. Like the character was great. He acted it well. The character was written well. Like
No,
that was all fine.
That was the stuff, like you said, that was the stuff that Raimi cared about. And it was the other stuff that was forced on him that just comes off as odd.
Yeah, like it's
disruptive to the narrative.
100%. Especially like you said, Rick, the dancing, emo Peter Parker was terrible. Everybody knows it. Like it's not even the fact that it was just so like bad. It was just so out of character in every way. Like it's even for the movie, like the movie that they were like literally presenting you, it comes out of nowhere.
It does.
Like even with him being like corrupted by the symbiote and all this stuff, it's like what happens with it like still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like for it all to like just happen the way it does.
I feel like somebody should have sat Raimi down and said, here's Superman 3. Watch Superman 3. This is how you do an evil version of your character.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
because that was the now Superman 3 had its issues too, but
right. I mean,
the evil Superman was.
Yeah, it's been too long since I've seen that to even be able to weigh in on it. I don't remember it being liked very well either. But
Richard Pryor and the evil computer that Superman fights. Yeah,
right.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah. I think more people were mad about the Richard Pryor stuff and just him being in it too. Like for some reason, if I remember correctly, it's been like 10, 15 years since I've seen it. But people like his character, it was the same kind of concept. Like his character didn't fit with what they were doing by Superman. But Richard Pryor's great though. Like, but I don't know. I guess I just hope with the whole. I kind of want I never would have said it before, but in the end, at this point, with them bringing Jamie Foxx back, I'm leaning more towards just wanting a Spider-Verse movie at this point now. I just feel like it would make.
I'm also curious if Sony will let that happen because Into the Spider-Verse did so well. They've already announced that they're doing a sequel for it. Do they want to have a live version and a animated version going on at the same time, competing with each other?
Well, it would depend on if because I don't think they would market it as like being Spider-Verse as much as it's an actual multiverse kind of thing happen. That's why I feel like it would make the most sense, because you just had Mysterio in there with the fake multiverse stuff, but then you have the Doctor Strange movie coming out that's actually going to address like real multiverse stuff.
Yeah.
So it's the Spider-Man like continuity with Tom Holland is already familiar with the concept of the multiverse because of Mysterio, even though it was fake. No one knew it was fake until the end of the movie. So once you see the Doctor Strange stuff and it actually is a thing, I don't know, you could just easily weave that narrative in together and it make sense, because like in some ways it already would kind of make sense just because of Mysterio. You just kind of lean more into it. Like I could see him doing something like more like the Flash is doing with Flashpoint with like the Batmans, like Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield could come in or just be in a quick scene and just be there, but not necessarily do the whole. I don't know. I'd kind of love to see like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man work with Tom Holland Spider-Man, though. I think it'd actually be a lot of fun.
So while you're talking about this, I'm running through scenario. What if that is it? What if he has to? What if in the Andrew Garfield the future of his Spider-Man, his identity was outed? Because that's something they're going to have to deal with, is the fact that Peter's identity has been outed in the next movie. And so maybe the multiverse is him looking for help as to how he continues to be Spider-Man when his identity is out there or something like that. I don't know.
Right. I always feel like too, though, with that, they could easily. There's so many. They could undo that in 5 minutes with a scroll. Just have the scroll turn into Peter Parker, and then
have them stand next to each other,
and have Spider-Man swing by, and then like catch a car, so you can prove that it's him, but it's really like it could be either or. Like the scroll could catch the car, and Peter could just be standing there. The scroll could be Peter, and like I mean, either way,
vice versa. Fine.
Yeah. They could just be like 5 minutes. Like glad that was taken care of. Like or they could actually make it a like. He's like, I always wanted when they introduced that. Just like a lot of the fanboys out there, I totally agreed with them. Like, it'd be really cool if, Matt Murdock was his lawyer when they're kind of going through this stuff, and they could introduce Daredevil in the Spider-Man movie, because that would just be cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's probably just as easy to be like, we don't want to do that anymore. Kind of like the whole Iron Man 3 PTSD stuff. Just like, we're just going to ignore it. Like, keep making all this stuff. So, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, though. But in the end, the question is for you guys, what do you think this means? Do you think, like we kind of said, there's like 50 different things this could really mean as far as Jamie Foxx coming back as Electro, either a reprisal of the role itself or him coming back to play like a new Electro, but being a different character, even though it's the same character. I find that to be more confusing from a narrative standpoint, as opposed to it's just him, he's back, and like, here's why. I feel like that's a lot cleaner. You could do more with it. And like I said, bring back just lean full heavy into the Spider-Verse or multiverse stuff, especially in light of, the Doctor Strange stuff coming out. Maybe they're doing that. Whatever it is, guys, you let us know down in the comments section below. All right, so our next topic here today, guys, is going to the world of Star Wars, in particular, the Mandalorian Season 2. But I guess if you want to be even more particular, it's some news on Ahsoka Tano being played by Rosario Dawson. Now, we've known, I guess... I don't even know if they've gone out of the way to actually confirm it. I think I just saw like another article about the Mandalorian Season 2 where they hadn't even actually confirmed that what's his name? Timothy Oliphant, his character. We've known for like 6 months now that he was going to be in the Mandalorian, but Disney hadn't even confirmed it until like a day or two ago. So I don't know like what they've been doing with the whole casting thing, just taking their time. But we got our first look at what Ahsoka Tano is going to look like being portrayed in live action by Rosario Dawson. And I think it looks pretty good. And this comes from like it's almost like a concept art image, but it's on the Force Effects lightsabers.
Artist rendering, kind of like they do on the Black Series boxes.
Right. And but I mean, in the end,
looks pretty legit to me.
It looks legit. Like, I mean, I don't see this being a like fake thing. It's just like what you consider to be a leaked image, but I think it pretty much, honestly, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I imagined Ahsoka Tano would look like being played by Rosario Dawson. That's what I imagined. But The only real question is, like, this is still technically, though, some form of, like, a drawing, right? So I think the biggest thing for people, at least in my mind, at least biggest thing for me, not to speak for anyone else, was to see how her head tail things, because it's not just your typical Twi'lek
Yeah, I was gonna
tails,
say
she's
not like
got
the
like the
Twi'lek
thing
typicals.
that goes up and then they come down. So I've been real curious as to like how it's actually going to look and function in live action. So I don't really, this doesn't give you a real idea of a live action feel of this, in my opinion, still, especially since it's all kind of got a blue overtone to it as opposed to actual like skin coloring and everything.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it looks good. Like it didn't get me any more or less excited. It just made me feel like Rosario
That's
Dawson
what it
was
is.
always good casting for it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm mainly just curious about like how it's still gonna look in live action. I would have liked to have seen. Granted, this is obviously just a leak kind of thing, but I would have liked to have seen even on the Force Effects box if they're gonna use Rosario Dawson's likeness for even this piece of promotional art on the toy itself. Why wasn't it like an actual live action like picture of her?
I don't think they
Yeah.
do that on any of the boxes though.
Don't they?
No, it's
Yeah, they
always
might have. There might be some licensing for their image that they have to pay extra for if they're going to use them on the toys.
I haven't seen an actual picture on like a Star Wars figure box for
No, for
many.
the Force Effects sabers though, like I'm pretty sure like on the Luke one, it's a picture of Mark.
Is it?
I think I could try to pull it up. Let me see. But what do you guys think of the overall look for it so far?
Looks good.
I guess my biggest question is going to be how much of it is practical and how much of it is CGI. Are they going to digitally alter them to try and
Yeah,
blend
true.
them in more? Which I mean, as long as they do it right, it's not going to matter. Which with the production quality that they have on the show, I have a feeling it'll look just fine. But I am kind of curious about that aspect of it.
It's like the headdress thing could look, maybe that's CGI or something like that, but
Yeah.
I feel like if
I don't know why they
anything, they'd
even
have
need
to do a
to.
mixture, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't know they did. This isn't. Is it? Look
What
at
is
this. A Darth Revan one?
No.
How cool is that? Look at that,
That'd be
dude.
pretty awesome.
Look at that, dude.
That would be pretty awesome.
Look at that.
I want a Darth Revan mask.
Dude, there's honestly, not to go like off topic or anything, but there's some people who make some pretty decent ones on Etsy, like a full
Oh, I've seen
costume.
it.
Like it looks pretty decent, all things
Yeah.
considered.
You can buy a kit too where you paint it yourself and all that. It's just like a rough cast that you get.
Right.
I'd rather do that.
All I'm seeing is the Ahsoka Tano one. I can't even find the packaging for.
Did you type in
the other
elite?
ones.
Because I don't think the other ones are like elite technically. They're just Force Effects lightsabers.
What makes them elite? You know, what makes them different? Do they metal?
Elite. They all have metal hilts. They
That's what I
all
thought.
have like maybe it's got like a better blade on it, like a dueling blade.
Wonder if you can like take the crystal, like a crystal out or something.
That would be sweet.
Do you think this might be a leak that they might be using Rosario Dawson's image, but that this is a placeholder image that they put on the box so that
True.
if it's a fact leak that wouldn't make it out? I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I didn't obviously click into it too much, but like I'm looking at shopping, like on Google right now, and like it's saying I can buy that exact saber for $200 or $225 from GameStop. So like, I'm guessing these things are actually already like
In the wild.
they're there.
GameStop has a lot of cool stuff now. Like I was kind of shocked the last time I was in there.
Well, the one right next to us is like closing down too. So the one over
The one in Kenwood had like so many collector's items.
those are the only ones, dude. The one down in Finneytown, this is completely off topic, but they had a ton of like their whole wall was figures. And
That's how it was at Kenwood.
Yeah, and that was like the only reason. No, this this store in general is like bigger than like the Kenwood
Ooh.
one. Like it's like twice as big, and like they actually have like a shit ton of stuff in it.
They wanted
But
to
I
do
think
some-
like those are the only GameStops that are even surviving anymore. Like they had to adapt. It was the right thing for them to do, was to actually start selling like collectibles and stuff, because
Yeah.
I don't know anymore. Like 9 times out of 10, people just download the games. Like there's really
So
no
much is digital. Yeah.
yeah, and then their trade-in value is like so poor, especially
So bad.
like you go to GameStop with $2,000 worth of games, and it's like Pawn Stars. Like I'll give you $5 for it.
Like most I can do is
$5.
$5, man.
Yeah,
I'm
best I
calling
can
an
do.
expert.
Final offer. All right.
750.
But yeah, I don't know. As far as the Rosario Dawson stuff, though, I think it looks good. It's pretty much exactly as I pictured she would look. I don't know. Like it was cool. It's cool to see her, but I'm more or less like I don't know. I'm holding out. I have reservations for Ahsoka being in the show to begin with, just because I don't want it to turn into like a Jedi show. I don't want it to turn into Rebels, the TV show. I don't want it to. I want Mandalorian to be its own
Well,
thing.
there was a
Like
rumor about Ezra Bridger coming back.
I know
too.
that's what I'm saying, and that's why I don't want it to be Rebels.
Let it be the Mandalorian.
Yeah, it needs to be like I'm fine with like if they want to have those characters pop up here and there, fine. But if it's like if you guys want to make a Rebels TV show, then make a Rebels TV show. Like, don't waste Mandalorian's time on it. Make your own show.
Yeah.
Do you think we're getting another trailer before the new season drops?
I would
Or is
certainly
it-
hope
is
so.
I would have to assume because I mean we're looking at 2.5, 3 weeks now.
3 weeks. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know.
I'm just curious because we didn't see her in the first trailer, so
Right.
I'm wondering if that's more indicative of the fact that they are not pushing her as a major part of the show because she isn't a major part of the show. They're going to keep it mainly on Mando and the child, and that while it's been announced that she's going to be in it, she's more of a one episode kind of deal rather than an overarching, series regular.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping. And I think that's really like a good way to use kind of pre-existing characters with the Mandalorian show. Like,
Almost like a cameo appearance.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
and like because like the Mandalorian himself, like he doesn't know anything about like the Jedi or anything.
Calls them sorcerers.
Yeah, he calls them sorcerers and like thinks they're the enemy essentially. And so bringing in characters that are already well established in the lore is both helpful to us, the viewer, but
yeah.
it's also helpful like to progress the story further for the Mandalorian himself, just because they don't have to spend as much time introducing like some random new Jedi if they can just bring in Ahsoka Tano.
That everybody already knows.
Yeah, we're all familiar with it, so they don't have to spend as much time. And there's like, so we trust Ahsoka when we see her on screen, but the Mandalorian doesn't. So like,
Yeah.
it creates a lot more. I don't know. There's a lot more nuance to that as opposed to it just being there's some hooded guy over there that we know nothing about. So it's like we're sitting there questioning if he's good, he's bad, whatever. Creates more conflict when we know what's going on, but he doesn't know what's going on. And it's more compelling. And it's always good to see some characters that haven't been like done in live action. Seeing them in live action for the first time is cool.
It's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. And like I'd still love to see like Revan pop up in live action at some point. Even if it was like completely redone. Like
Keanu Reeves. Be a perfect
Keanu Reeves for that. I would honestly like him.
Keanu can do anything.
Keanu can do everything. Like, I mean, I wouldn't really be against him playing Darth Revan by any means. I just feel like
you'd like that.
I don't know if I see him as Darth Revan.
It's like, dude, give me my lightsaber.
I mean, yeah, I honestly don't see that. I don't think that would work too well. I don't know. It depends on how you would do the movie, though. At the time, if you completely rewrote him and made him like different. I mean, I don't know. Anybody could play Revan. He wears a mask.
Yeah.
Like, it depends. It depends. Just like, I don't know. Anybody could have played Ahsoka, but Rosario Dawson, I feel like, was perfect casting just because her facial structure is very similar to the animated version of her already. So it was like, and it's one of those rare occasions where you find an actor that perfectly fits the role, like physically in a lot of ways, but then they're also a great actor or actress, whatever you want to say. So it kind of worked out. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it at the end. You guys still looking forward to it?
Oh yeah. Gosh.
Well, we only got 3 weeks. So 3 weeks and I don't know. I guess technically 8 weeks 11 weeks because we don't know which episode she's going to be in. So, and it's week to
Oh,
week.
that's right.
So in 3 weeks, we'll see episode 1, but maybe we won't see Ahsoka till 11 weeks from now.
True.
You know what I mean? So,
Boy, that would be a big tease to announce her and then not have her show up till the finale. That would be
a huge
I mean, the thing
tease.
is, though, I would totally agree if they were pushing her in the marketing. Like,
Yeah.
if we had seen her in that trailer, I think it'd be a bad idea to do that if she's only going to have a 5-minute role in one episode, especially during the middle of the season or something. Because then
Yeah.
you just run into the whole thing where it's like people are just waiting. People are already just waiting to see Ahsoka, waiting to see what's going to happen with Tamora Mortensen and Boba Fett or the clones, whatever he's doing there. You know, like everyone's already anticipating these things. So it's kind of good that they're not putting that stuff in the trailers because it does make me believe that each one of those I just mentioned probably have a very small role and maybe one episode focuses on each one of them.
Yeah,
like,
like
at
it's a real
best.
story with.
Yeah. So, which again, I think is the right way to go because it's the Mandalorian story. You know,
Yeah,
if they
you
want
wanna
to
hear
make
about
Boba
him.
Fett, they can make Boba Fett. Like a clone thing would be pretty cool though, but I feel like that kind of goes in line with the Ahsoka stuff. I don't know. If they wanted to make a Rebels show, they could do more of the clone stuff. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyways, guys, you let us know what you guys think down in the comments section below. We'll know much more about the Ahsoka Tano stuff, like I said, in 3 to 11 weeks. Depending on how many episodes that she's going to be in, we'll figure it out in 3 to 11 weeks. Whatever you guys think, let us know down in the comments section below. All right, guys, so our next topic, it brings us to the world of The Matrix, because yet another familiar face is returning to The Matrix 4, the sequel we never knew we wanted in The Matrix 4. But we're getting another familiar face, and it's not a face that you would kind of first come to your mind. It's not Hugo Weaving, who initially was supposed to return at one point, but the scheduling didn't allow for it. So I'm wondering if that had anything to do with why this fella is returning back. Cause for speculation, but Agent Johnson himself, which was one of the unnamed agents, they never referred to him as Agent Johnson in the first Matrix movie, but Agent Johnson from the first Matrix movie is coming back in Matrix 4. So, like I said, guys, I'm wondering if this has anything to do with, I don't know if you guys saw the story a while back where Hugo Weaving was initially going to be coming back to reprise the role of Agent Smith in some capacity for the fourth Matrix movie, but there was like scheduling conflicts. He was like filming something else. He ended up not being able to get the schedule to work out for him to do it, which kind of led at least me to believe that whatever role they had for Agent Smith was going to be small if they could just continue doing the movie without him, without any problems. So I'm wondering if like this actually has any sort of ramifications to it, to where they're just going to bring, you know, him back to play an agent. You know, maybe they just need another agent back. I always liked him, and I liked these original agent crew in the first movie. You know what I mean? Because if I'm not mistaken, did he blew up Smith at the end, right? That's who he jumped inside of and blew up, right? Or did he blow up that guy?
Keanu Reeves?
Yeah. At the end of the first
no,
one, he jumped into Smith, right? Because he's the one jumping in. And he fought him in the hallway, right? That was Smith,
Yeah.
right?
And that's how Smith ends up kind of
Having the one stuff.
Yeah, he becomes like separated from the Matrix somehow. He's no longer
Becomes
just
a
a part of
rogue
the
program.
Matrix code. He's a rogue program at that point because of that scene, right? I'm pretty sure that's how that
Yeah, I
went
think that's how they were tying it in. Like, you know, when he jumped inside of him, like some of like Neo's code, like corrupted Smith's code, and you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't know. I think it's cool that they're bringing this guy back though.
Yeah.
But it really brings up a lot of questions for me as far as the movie goes, because like I said, they were gonna bring Smith back, but like
They didn't.
I know, but like not even so much that they didn't, but like just the way the movie ends, like what was he gonna do?
True.
Like,
true.
you know what I mean? How was he gonna, like, how was Smith back?
Maybe it
was it
was
just
gonna
gonna
be
be
like a
like
flashback?
the original Smith program, you know, not like a corrupt Smith, and just have him like pop in? I feel like it's kind of a waste too. Like, 'cause if you're gonna bring Hugo Weaving back to play Agent Smith, why would you have him just come in to be like a cameo of like what Smith was before the corruption? I feel like that's kind of boring. Yeah, it's just wasted if they were gonna go that
for
route.
sure.
But obviously, since they, like I said, you know, before, he wasn't gonna have that big of a role if they're able just to like not have him in the movie. So I imagine they're probably just using him as a replacement, but I don't know just why. I don't. What do you guys think? Like they have a need for this for? It's like we have no general idea of where they're even going with this.
Your guess is
My
as
only-
good as mine.
Yeah, my only guess would be that that the Matrix has reestablished itself. That whatever piece or whatever kind of what am I trying to say? Whatever kind of agreement that Neo's people and the Matrix the machines had come to at the end of 3, that somehow being stripped away, and maybe his presence is a reassertion of the machines of their dominance over the human. I don't know. I mean, it really. I mean, the question of why he's back is as equally compelling to me as the question of why they're doing a 4th Matrix movie. I mean, what part of this story is left to tell?
Dude, that's the thing. Like, funnily enough, Matrix is probably like it's hard to say it's like my favorite movies of all time, just knowing how like kind of like downhill the thing went. Like, cause I find enjoyment in all 3 of the movies. Like, the first one is obviously the best one. Like, nobody even argues that. You know what I mean? It's nowhere near as like controversial as like Godfather 1 versus Godfather 2 or Empire versus Jedi. You know what I mean? Like, everybody knows the Matrix 1 is the best Matrix movie. Like, I don't think anybody's arguing that.
Empire's way better than Jedi.
I agree. Like,
True.
but the space battle in Jedi is unparalleled.
True.
You know what I mean? So it's like
they didn't bring Return of the
they're
Jedi
both
back
good.
in theaters, though.
They're both. That's true. They didn't. They brought Empire back. That is true. But the theaters might not be there too much longer. Like, stay tuned for more on that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. With so with the Matrix 4 though, when Matrix 3 ended, I always wanted to know, just with how it ends, like what happened. Because they leave it on such a like he beats Smith. Spoiler alert for 15-year-old movie, like, or 20-year-old. How long?
20, yeah.
2000. It came out in like 2002, right? Like Revolutions. It was like 99, 2001, 2002, I think, right? Something like that. So spoiler alert for 18-year-old movie, something along those lines. But he beats Smith at the end with the help of Babyface, and like they just take him away. They just take Neo away. But like, was he dead? Like, was he not dead? Like, I always had that question. Like, what happened next? And then like all the Sentinels like just start floating all peacefully around, and it's like, okay, so is there peace now? Like, because it's never explicitly confirmed. They just say like, if I do it, then stop. Like, if Neo can stop Smith, like, then they'll stop attacking humans. But if Neo's dead, why would they continue the peace? Like, their whole like, there's no threat to the machines if Neo is dead. Like, who's gonna stop? Like, they could just go back to doing what they were doing before, and it's no problem. So, and obviously, we know now, we have some sort of answer, I guess, without even seeing the movie yet, that Neo did survive to some capacity because Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss are reprising their roles in this Matrix 4 movie. But again, it just begs the question. I don't even know where you would go, because that was back, like, 18 years ago when I saw that movie. I was like, a kid and wanted to see more Matrix movies. And like, upon reflection, like you were just kind of saying, John, like, where do you even go at that point? Like, they kind of told the whole story. So unless you go back to like what the architect said, where it's just like it gets rebooted, like maybe that's what's happening, is like there was peace for a long period of time, and now the machines are, instead of keeping the peace, they're like, maybe they've been secretly like rebooting the Matrix.
True. That's very true.
What I mean?
What if they flip the script? What if the humans are the ones that break the peace? What if the humans are the ones that, and this guy coming back is the machine's attempt to save itself, and maybe the machines bring, because I always had the impression that when Neo died at the end of Matrix 3, that the machines carrying him away was his source or his code being reabsorbed into the Matrix to ensure that the machines honored whatever deal they had come up with. And maybe they need this guy back, and Neo's leading, because we know we're not getting Morpheus back too. So So you're not getting the full complement of the rebels or the ones that were fighting against it back. Maybe this is the machines need help, and Neo's coming back to balance the piece for the other side at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, possibly, but at the same time, like, I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't know because, like I said,
Yeah.
now that I'm older and I like, because before, 18 years ago when I was younger, not that much younger, I guess, but I guess it was like half. It was like more than half my lifespan ago. So I guess it was a while ago. Like, I just wanted to see more, and like I was like, Neo's so cool, man. Like, because like
It's cool though.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like back then, though, I didn't see like how bad the movies actually got in comparison
you
to
just
one
like
another.
the more
Like
Matrix.
yeah, when I was a kid, I was just like, this is really cool, man. And there was no movies like really like it at all. So you're just like living it up, Um, but yeah, I just genuinely don't even know where they're gonna go at this point. So I find that to be it's got me hesitant because like the same people to some degree, at least half of them are making this one. So I don't know. I do prefer them doing this though, like actually continuing the story in some way rather than like they were initially tossing around ideas about doing like a Morpheus prequel movie. Like who gives a shit? Like in all honesty, like I don't
True.
like Morpheus's story was about him finding the like if anything, the whole Matrix trilogy was about more like his story ended there. Like that was his whole purpose was finding the one. He found the one, and that played out. So Morpheus's prequel movie is essentially the first Matrix movie. So I thought that was a really stupid idea. So
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't go that route. But I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to see where they go with it, and I hope that if anything, since Warner Brothers was like wanting to greenlight this thing, especially with I can't remember, is it Lena Wachowski that's doing this one, or if it's not
Yeah.
Lena, it's the other one.
Or it's not? I thought it was Lena.
I said if it's not, then it's the
Yeah.
other one because I don't know. Like it's one of the Wachowskis that are doing it. But I imagine if Warner Brothers actually greenlit this thing, despite the movies being successful, whether or not upon reflection they're very good. Like I would imagine that she must have a good, or he or she must have a good idea, like for the story. So
Sure. Yeah, the concept of the Matrix. I mean, there was so much, I don't know, reference to different philosophies and so much jargon in the last two movies that there was a general idea, but like I felt like I needed a philosophy degree to dissect and interpret and understand exactly what happened in those last two movies. The action scenes obviously were tremendous, and you had a general idea that yeah, the good guys won at the end, but there was a lot going on. I still to this day have no clue what the sequence was with the guy in the white suit. What was his name?
the architect.
Yeah, I have no effing clue what the architect and Neo talked about, besides the fact that the Matrix gets rebooted every so often in the
Yeah,
second movie.
that was pretty much my takeaway from that whole conversation was that there's been multiple, like there have been ones before him, and it's just
Sure.
this rinse repeat cycle. That's all I got from it. So if there's more to it than that, then it went over my head as well.
Yeah.
But it felt like a 20-minute conversation between those two guys, and you walked out of it going, okay, it's happened before, I guess, is what you're saying. I mean, like,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know, I felt like there was so much more that I was supposed to get out of that I just didn't. So anyway, with it being such a, at least the last two being so high concept and stuff, I feel like there's no way to guess what they're going to do with this fourth one.
Yeah. I mean, that's my hope is, like I said, that they have some sort of like idea, some way to move it forward, or I don't know, like, because I was gonna say like conclude the story in like a good way, but like it kind of, not that it was like done in a good way, but it was arguably already over.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Like it's interesting that they're bringing like the dude back to come play like Agent Johnson again, but like the fact that like he's returning and the Smith was returning, that just makes me think like that they're just kind of going in like the route of it being rebooted at some point.
Yeah.
Because
Is this officially the Matrix 4? Have
Yeah.
they said it's officially, or is it possible that this is a reboot of the franchise?
this is Matrix 4.
Okay.
Like a totally
Yeah.
new story.
Yeah. It's not a new one. because they tossed
Okay.
around the idea of doing that, like either rebooting it or then they tossed around the idea of doing the Matrix prequel thing with
Fishburne.
Morpheus's character, and like Michael B. Jordan was like attached to some point to like be
I remember
in
that.
something like, but none of that has came to fruition. 'Cause that's the thing. Like I would like to see if they were good. I would almost think at this point it would have been more interesting for them just to like reboot the damn thing. And just you could even call it the Matrix rebooted, and it would make sense.
That's
in the
true.
lore. Like
Yeah, perfect.
it would, and just retell like a new generation. Just like one day, I'm sure they're gonna redo the original Star Wars trilogy, and it's even if it's the same thing, it's just gonna be retold for a new generation. That's been like 20 years. Like, they could have done a new Matrix movie, because that's kind of the beauty of the way the Matrix is structured. Is it could have been, the Matrix rebooted, but it could have been like they could have jumped hundreds of years in the future and did like a way more futuristic style, like sci-fi kind of like Earth world, like Matrix simulation, and like told like a whole new crazy stories. But it's just like a new one, it's like another thing. Like there's so much they could actually do with it. Like I was
Yeah.
always more interested too once in like I really like the Matrix Reloaded. Like I actually think that's actually a good movie. Despite people not liking it. Like I thought the twins were cool and everything. And
Yeah.
I liked the Merovingian. Like I liked the Frenchman, like I liked seeing like the AI like underworld shit. Like I thought that was really cool. And it's just something that kind of just happens and gets turned into a stylized fight scene as opposed to I don't know, some real like character depth with it. But I would like to have seen him do more with that. But I don't think that's where they're going. But I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll just have to wait and see, because I think anybody's guess is as good as mine. I think we're all kind of unanimously just like confused as to what their intent is with bringing an OG agent back and Keanu back and Carrie Ann back with it. No one else is back, and it's like, well, where are you going with this? Because
Yeah,
it's
very
just kind
true.
of more confusing. So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. The question is, guys, what do you think? Are you happy with them bringing back one of these OG agents here, Agent Johnson? Like, I think it's cool in the end that they're bringing him back, but at the same time, like I said, what does it all mean? Like, what is it all for? I mean, why is there even a Matrix 4, to be honest with you? Like, I don't know. I'm excited for it because I love the Matrix trilogy despite its flaws. So I'm looking forward to it, but it just kind of gets more confusing as more information comes along. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but whatever you guys think, let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our penultimate topic here brings us to a kind of an interesting story, one that kind of came out of left field. Like surprisingly, I guess unbeknownst to everyone, Sacha Baron Cohen must have been like hired by or has the people who represent like Marvel produce a new Borat movie because they kept everything very close to the vest. As I hit my mic there, because no one ever heard anything about there being a Borat 2 movie. Somehow he was able to go and film this entire movie. And I don't think I saw any story out there about there being a
Yeah, there was nothing about the production.
yeah. There was
really.
nothing. There was no like leaks of it was like oh Borat spotted.
You think that'd be kind of hard to keep under wraps too, but
right? He even says that in the trailer.
yeah,
He says like I got to go back to America and people might recognize my face. Like it's literally like mentioned. So like I think if anything, that's the most shocking part about like this happening is the fact that they were able to get the whole thing made with pretty much little to no like leaks at all, like
yeah.
about it. So I think I may have saw one article that wasn't too long ago, like it was like a recent article that said like Sacha Baron Cohen possibly spotted in Borat costume.
I think I remember that too.
Like, but I don't think anyone thought anything of it. I don't think anybody even in the article thought like there was going to be like he filmed a whole movie. Like maybe he was doing a skit, like one bit, like for God knows what. But
Yeah,
no, yeah. So Amazon, it's the sequel itself is coming to Amazon. It's actually going to be released in October. So it's coming 7 days before our first look at the Mandalorian, right? Because Mandalorian's the 30th.
yeah.
So then this is coming out on October 23rd. So I think, and again, it's shocking that he was able to get all this done without leaks, and then boom, the announcement happens, and like cool comes out later this month. So for any Borat fans, like I'm sure that's great. Like and the trailer looks good, so you can go watch the trailer.
Yeah, it looks pretty funny.
It looks good. It's pretty much more of the same. Like
Yeah.
it's I don't even think I've seen the whole movie, the original one, all the way through. And if I have, like Rick, you were just saying that, like you swear we
I
watched it
swear
before.
we did.
I probably did, but that was like just like the Matrix we were just talking about. That was probably what, like 18.
It was like 10
years?
plus years ago. easily.
Yeah, like maybe I've seen it. Like I know who Borat is, so I'm sure I've sat through and watched it all. I just
God, we're gonna have to get used to again. Everybody doing like Borat impressions because I know that was like the big thing.
Oh yeah. If anything,
It's a
that's probably
big
the only
Borat.
reason I never wanted to like sit down and watch it and like
Because it was
watch
so annoying
Yeah, it
hearing
was just-
everybody just.
yeah. And then you don't want to become what you hate, you know what I mean? You don't want to Harvey Dent the shit, like live long enough to see yourself become the villain. You hate all these people doing like a nice, and then you watch the fucking movie, and then you're going around saying a nice,
Very nice. Yeah.
So I don't know, but it looks great. And when I'm wondering too, like you think he's gonna do like some more Ollie G or something? Because like, dude, the Ollie G shit was funny.
Yeah. I've heard that. Yeah, I've actually heard that like he is going to do more of that. But
I think it's just hard for him now to do this kind of stuff.
sure.
Like,
I mean, he's getting older.
I'm
God.
shocked that I'm shocked that he got away with doing this. Like, I mean, he clearly shows in the trailer that there's a scene where somebody does recognize him and is kind of chasing after him. But the fact that there are people out there that he was able to dupe with this caricature and that he was able to get to
Right?
go
I
into their
know.
offices is just, I can't believe it. I would have thought that
Like, that's
if
that
he
Borat
had
guy.
a character, it would have been the Ollie G, because that is to me, that's a lesser known. Borat, I don't know if you guys remember, but man, Borat was like,
Huge.
everybody was Borat that summer. I mean, you couldn't turn on the TV without hearing somebody, nice, you know, like you were saying, like everybody. So I can't believe there are people out there that didn't know who it was and that he was able to dupe with it yet again.
I don't know, dude.
We wears a lot of costumes though in the movie too.
He did. You saw that in the trailer. But I mean, he also wasn't wearing, like, for some of the, I don't know where they were, but there was a bit, the COVID bit.
Oh, where they're in
like
like a
the
cabin
virus bit. Yeah,
quarantining.
he was just in his normal Borat garb for that. So like somehow these people,
Some older guys though.
had no idea. Like,
But the thing is too, is he's so ridiculous and over the top. Like, I don't know how, even if you got stuck in that situation, say you've never even seen him before or anything like that, would you not be like, dude, this is obviously.
But yeah, like
some
especially
sort of
considering
parody
there's
or
like
something.
someone filming it.
Yeah. Like if you got inserted into that universe, like without even knowing who he was, you'd definitely be like, this is definitely like a character.
I would definitely think something was up, and obviously, like
Yeah.
the film crew is gonna make me very suspicious.
Yeah. On top of that,
Like-
it's like, oh, we're following around with video.
And it's
clips
like,
as well.
why are you following around this dude? Like, well, it's like, are you hearing him talk? Like, what? Like, why are you following him around?
And then all
Like,
those people have to sign off to be in the movie. All the people that he duped, basically. And I mean, I think some of them would probably be pretty mad about it.
that's what I always thought about, like the Ollie G stuff he would do too. Because like, I got to imagine when he was doing like the Ollie G stuff, he goes up and like he does the bit, but then afterward they have to say like, you know, like this
You
is
were on
for a
TV.
show, and then he comes in and is just completely normal, just like thanks for being a good sport. Like it like wasn't trying to, you know, belittle you or what you were saying. It's all a bit, you know what I mean? Like,
But the thing is, like like you said, he's got the cameras there with him when they're filming this stuff. So maybe he gets them signed a release saying that they agree to be part of his production. There's some fine print in there that they don't read that says it may be used in a motion
True.
picture or something. So maybe these people don't. Maybe they did sign a release, but they're not for this intention.
right. I don't know, man. I like again. I'm with you guys or whichever one of you mentioned it too. Just how they were able to find people who didn't know what was like who they could dupe with this at all is shocking.
Yeah.
It's absolutely shocking to me. Like I don't know. That's why like I think the Ollie G thing being like lesser known and arguably, I think it's funnier. Like this, some of the Ollie G bits were like a lot funnier.
Yeah.
And you could just do so much more with it. But I feel like he'd run into the exact same kind of problem. It's just like if you don't know, if somehow you're unfamiliar with like Ollie G or like Borat, like don't you just know who like Sacha Baron Cohen is at this point? Even
Yeah, I mean,
like
he's
it's
in
just, like,
Talladega Nights,
blew,
like-
yeah, he blew up after all this stuff. So it's like he was almost Freddie Mercury. Like he was gonna originally be Freddie
I could see
Mercury.
that.
Yeah. I forget what happened with that, but it didn't end up coming through. So I don't know. I would have liked to have seen that too. It would have been
very nice.
Jesus. Yeah. All right, ending the show there. No,
I'll see myself.
no, it would have been cool though to see him do like an actual like dramatic piece of some kind, like for him to play like Freddy, because
He did. There is movies in where he plays like a really dramatic character.
as like the
it's-
lead though,
What?
as like the lead.
as the lead. He's like an Israeli journalist or something like that. And like it's weird seeing him act like totally serious.
Right.
'Cause I've seen parts.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out. I don't know what it is, but yeah, that would have been cool. But in the end, I mean, I'm gonna watch this. I mean, it's coming to Amazon. So if you have Amazon Prime, like most of everybody does, like I'm sure you're gonna check it out. So just
I'm
be
sure
on
it'll
the
be
lookout.
funny.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fun. It's always, even if it's like hard to believe anymore, just because given, like you said, like how I just still like find it hard to believe these people exist. I have no idea like what Borat is, but
Like I feel like if my dad knows who Borat is, like
everybody should.
yeah, right.
Like,
It's
you
just
know,
like your everyman, normal, yeah,
yeah. So
like
like,
gentleman.
if you just kind of, I don't know, if you approach it just from a place of, I don't know, satire, then it's still going to be funny. You know what I mean? Because it's obviously fun. Like in some ways, at least I find it, it's funnier when you 100% know that he's just effing with people and they have no idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a little bit more to buy into with that, like actually being more of like a prank kind of thing. Because with now, like it's just hard to believe, like we said, that these people aren't in on it in some way. Like, you know, like they just don't, like, how do you not know? How do you not know? But I don't know. I'm gonna watch it. Hopefully it's funny. But in the end, guys, what do you think? Are you happy about? I don't know. What do you think? I don't know what happened to my voice.
What do you think?
What do you think about the Borat trailer? Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Let us know down in the comment section below. And October 23rd, we'll all watch these people get duped somehow again by Sasha here playing Borat. So let us know down in the comment section. All right, guys. So our final topic here today is kind of some negative news. That's why we saved it for last here. And I guess you could put a maybe a positive spin on some negative news, but it's primarily some negative news in some way, because there's pretty much been like a petition of sorts. It was a letter of Congress from a bunch of film like film organizations, directors, you name it, pretty much urging Congress to save the movie theaters, because essentially they've obviously been hurting very bad during all this, because they've been closed just due to the pandemic and everything, and they have been probably, when you look at it, one of the most poorly managed, at least as far as like, I don't know, getting any sort of like small business loans for, just say any sort of like government assistance has been like really poorly handled when it comes to the movie theaters. Like not so much, I'm not going to get into anything else like politically by me, but like the movie theaters, no matter which way you look at it, like like almost every other state has been deeming them, you know, non-essential for like operation. So they've been essentially given 0% help throughout the whole pandemic. So that's been like, despite just the people who work there with their everyday lives and everything, just for like, you know, the regular 9 to 5 job working at the movie theater, the people who own it, the people who own the buildings, all bad news for all of them. But it sparks a really bad, potentially bad, and just dramatic shift in what the kind of the whole film industry is going to be evolving into, if you know, like these theater associations and everything, all these people are, you know, pleading for is some help to these movie theaters, because essentially if these movie theaters close, it's going to dramatically change the landscape of just the film industry altogether. So this is a pretty impressive list here. If you go through this list on a deadline of just like people at the end, I'm not going to read this whole entire article. You guys can go look it up and read it, but it's essentially like, there's some tidbits in here where it's like they go on to say like, you know, 93% of all theaters are, you know, essentially going to be declaring bankruptcy or something like that soon if changes don't occur. You know, there's just a lot of information here to unpack, but the biggest thing that like I kind of want to talk about with you guys is like, what do you think? Oh yeah, hold on. First, like this huge list of just NATO, you know, the DGA,
Judd
MPA,
Apatow, Wes
like
Anderson.
yeah, then like just not actors, but like Sofia Coppola, these like big time directors, like Seth Rogen's name's on here, Zack Snyder's name's on here, Barry Jenkins, Patty Jenkins, Ryan Johnson, like tons of very influential film people, at least from the Hollywood standpoint. M. Night Shyamalan, the Sham Hammer here.
Sham Hammer.
Like everybody, like there's tons
Guy
of
Ritchie.
people signing this letter to Congress here, just playing for some help for the theaters because.
Can you blame him?
Well, no, like not at all, because they like it's honestly been. That's what I was kind of saying on the top, like not to get like political with by any means, but like we were talking about like a week or so ago, or just on another show. There was a story about them like opening theaters somewhere, whatever. But then like I brought up that like New York and California still had the theaters closed, but they were opening places like bowling alleys and gyms and like all these things, and it's like their reasoning for not opening movie theaters is because they're non-essential and high risk. But it's like, but a bowling alley is essential and somehow less risk than a movie theater, and a gym is less risky than a movie theater. And like I can see the argument for a gym being more essential just for health reasons, but at the same time, at a movie theater, and like John, you said you've been to a movie theater since they've reopened, right? Like there's social distancing. Like they're like it's they have super high ceilings. They're super safe. Like it's a much safer environment than going out to dinner in a low ceiling restaurant where they're not social distancing. People are handling your food. Not that there's not food that you can get at a movie theater, but there's obviously a lot more contact with things that are going in your body at a restaurant than there would be at a movie theater. So I've always just found it kind of ridiculous that a lot of these states have been like I said, just not giving like even if like they didn't get any help from like the loan stuff because they were being deemed these non-essential businesses and like blah 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 blah, and like they wouldn't even let them open either. And it's like this is just, you take like any sort of politics aside from it, it's just shitty because there's so many people just ran into like a lot of problems here, and like with something like this as it pertains to like the stuff we talk about, which like the movie world, like it'll be like I don't know, it could with theaters gone, it's gonna dramatically change like how movies are made, because no one's gonna be making like movies like Endgame. Movies like, like good Star Wars movies, like these movies that take $200+ million to make, $200 million to market. If you can't put that in a movie theater to make over $1 billion, then they're not going to make that movie. Like it's not going to be fiscally like responsible for them. You're going to start seeing much smaller budget movies. Some movies just aren't going to happen. Like because you can't make. Like you just can't make a movie for $300 million and then put it on Netflix or put it on HBO Max. Like you don't get enough return from that.
Yeah.
Like let Mulan be of evidence to that. Even Tenet, which has had it hasn't gone like straight to stream or anything, but it's had a worldwide release with very limited theaters because half of them aren't open everywhere, and it's only made like I think it's up to like $300 million.
Or is that it?
Like that movie,
most of that is foreign box office too.
Yeah,
with countries that have the virus more in check than the U.S. The U.S. it's only made 45 million. I just looked the numbers.
Oh, wow.
It's only made 45 million, which is arguably it's half of its opening weekend if it opens under normal circumstances, and it's been out for 6 weeks now.
Yeah.
So
it's been out as long as like normally a 6-week run is like how long a movie stays in theaters, and then it's like coming out of theaters. So like the majority of its run. I mean, even like look at Dunkirk as an example for like a Christopher Nolan movie. That movie went on to make like $800 million in the theaters. Some random ass war movie that wasn't even a war movie. Like just because Christopher Nolan's name on it made $800 million. It was a good movie, but it wasn't some big action thriller. Like it wasn't some big ass movie like Tenet.
It wasn't even like a main battle of the war either. It was some little side note of what happened during World War II, and it's still like you said, because of Chris Nolan's attachment and everything else, it still made buku bucks.
Yeah, and that's like that's just a really telling thing because and then you look at things like Mulan, I think is in the same boat. I don't have the numbers for it offhand, but I could look it up. But um, I think I just read an article too somewhere where like Bill and Ted uh, was was looking like it's projecting to maybe make profit, like by being like on streaming. But that's the kind of movie that works perfectly fine going to like a VOD thing.
Yeah.
Like Bill and Ted didn't cost $100 million to make, and they weren't expecting to make $1 billion.
Mm.
You know, like you don't make 2.5 billion with Avengers Endgame if you put that thing on Disney Plus and charge people $30 for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's like literally the day Mulan became available on Disney Plus, it was pirated and available like everywhere. You can't get that like that's like with theaters open, it's built-in protection against that kind of thing.
True.
That is a big problem with um like the movie industry, it's piracy in general when it comes to like making your money back and everything. That's like
It's so easy when it's streaming to like copy it, you know.
exactly like
Very few people can offer the experience at home of seeing the movie on a screen as you can in a theater. So yeah, that like you said, that the nature of a theater itself combats piracy to an extent.
exactly. Yeah, because that's the thing. Like once you release it in high quality on a streaming service, every little kid and their mom has capture software for their computer anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's just half the time it's built in. You can download it for free. It's just easy. Like if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, it comes with Shadow Play. You just turn it on. You're recording everything on your screen. Like it's not hard to like easily capture that kind of stuff. Like with it, it's just
And even if you don't turn around and sell it or distribute it, you can share it with just friends and family, and right there you're cutting into revenue loss
Right.
or revenue from
or you just repeat view it
somebody
yourself.
people.
Yeah, or you just
Yeah,
like
you said,
if
you-
I could have streamed Endgame and I record it, I paid $30 one time, whereas a lot of people went and saw Endgame in theaters 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah.
If you could watch it exactly right there, because if you could have watched it at home, and if you pirated it, not that you would, but boom, you just cost them $15. You paid them $30 for that, but you went and saw it, 5 times in the theater, paid $15-$20 per ticket. They miss out on $70.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and in addition to that, like this is kind of along the same lines, kind of a little bit off topic, but like all the, I think something will get done here. I don't know that it'll happen before the election. I don't even know that it'll happen before inauguration in January. But I think after that, once the contentious climate that we're living under has settled down some, I think something will happen, because when you think about it, the loss of revenue just to the movie companies is one thing, but you're talking about all the concessions, all the people that are employed by theaters.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about billions upon billions of dollars into the U.S. economy that's being lost every year by theaters closing.
Yeah.
And I don't see that. I mean, we put billions of dollars into the airline industry to keep it afloat. We've put money into other industries, the automobile industry, to keep it afloat. I just can't see them not doing something to try and keep theaters.
Well, like you were saying with concessions too, I think I read somewhere that it was like 70% of like a theater's revenue or like income comes from concessions, like your profits.
100%.
So, like, I mean, if you're not even selling the concessions because there's nobody there, or you can't sell concessions because of the virus or whatever, that's a huge amount of money that's just being lost out on.
Yeah, that's with the movie theaters. They make like somewhere between like 1 to 10% on ticket sales, and it varies per
Yeah.
movie. Sometimes in the movies, like if can't remember what it was. I think like when one of the Star Wars movies came out, George like explicitly had it to where like for X amount of time, like that it was playing like the first week or two or something. Like I don't know if it was George or Lucasfilm in general, but it was like they get 100% of the profit. So after week 3, the theater can start making money off the ticket sales. But the first, it might be Disney actually that just does it in general for like certain big release films, because it's all
course they do.
contingent on the movie, right? Because it's like the biggest, just like Christopher Nolan with Tenet, he was supposed to get like some percentage of the box office directly cut to him. Like that was part of his like contract for his payout for making not Inception, but Tenet.
Yeah.
He was supposed to get like a huge like 20% or something of the box office, as opposed to like we'll give you $5 million to make a movie. He was going to get 20% off the final box office. So it's like a crazy number. Like had that movie made like 800 million in theaters, you know, he gets a crazy amount of money from there. Like so, like it's different with every movie, but yeah, generally speaking, like the ticket sales, movie theaters ain't making money off that. They're making money off buying popcorn for pennies on the dollar and charging you $10 per bucket.
Yeah, like $7 for like a 20-ounce drink.
Yeah, same like that's why I always thought it was a great idea when they finally started having like liquor and beer sales and
because you can jack the prices so much.
Well, no, because the liquor and the beer prices are it's like the same as going to a bar. So like everyone's already used to paying, you know, for overpriced drinks at a bar. So it's like it was just like I don't know, it was a convenience factor of like, oh, I can go grab a beer, I can go watch a movie, like good stuff. But because it was the one thing at the movie theater that I always felt like I wasn't paying out the ass for because I'm already used to paying out the ass for it when you go publicly go buy a beer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just gonna be like it's potentially just very damaging, like as far as theaters going home. Because another thing you miss out on too, because like I think one thing that a lot of people are like taking for granted right now, from you know just the climate that we're in with the pandemic and everything, like people are adapting and becoming used to not going to the theater and just getting the on-demand stream content, like doing the paid via like some of these movies like Bill and Ted and Mulan and all these things that were initially going to be theater releases ended up not, and you could just buy them and watch it on your TV. So like even if theaters do open, because you got to deal with the whole thing, like people always say like the new normal and all that stupid whatevers. Like, are people if the theaters do open up, like are people going to rush back out to them like right away? Who knows? Like, and it's just you got to deal with this whole thing with people becoming accustomed to just enjoying on-demand content to the world we're going to. Because like I could see with or without theaters opening back up, like permanently or not, like let's say they do open, I could see based on some of the things like Bill and Ted, for instance, that ended up being like somewhat successful going straight to video. I could totally see the movie industry more adapting to making some like I don't know, like higher quality content to go straight to paid VOD.
Yeah.
Because it's if there's a market for it, they need to fill the market. You know what I mean? Like because they just announced too, like The Witches, the Robert Zemeckis directed movie with Anne Hathaway in it. They just announced that it's skipping its theatrical run and it's going straight to HBO Max now. So it's like you're already seeing like they've offloaded they've had to push back so many things that 2021 is like overcrowded at this point. So along with like places like HBO Max needing content, like because they need people to subscribe to it, then you know they see that some things are being successful going straight to you know VOD services. So I mean, I could honestly see like if theaters do open back up and everything's cool, I could probably see the film industry just making a lot of movies specifically to go like straight to VOD, which I think is a good idea. But I mean, my home theater system is nothing compared to a movie theater.
You do have a pretty nice home theater system.
Yeah, I mean, plenty of people have nice home theater systems, but it's not really the same, you know. I mean, because like,
it's not the same experience.
It's not. That's the thing. It's the experience of going. Like, it's kind of boring. Like, as much as I'd love day one or even earlier than day one of a theater launch, like if I could have watched Avengers Endgame the day it came out in my living room, I would have watched it. Like, I definitely would have watched it. But if it's just me sitting there on my couch by myself when Cap grabs Mjolnir, like that's just me being like, ooh,
yeah, like that's
as opposed to everyone just like you don't get that.
Go watch a reaction video and tell me you're gonna get that experience.
Exactly. Like this thing, like I don't like when the movie's crowded and people are being loud and noisy, just like obnoxiously. But like when you're going to some big like movie like Endgame, you kind of want that stuff, you know, like and like
it hypes everybody up.
Yeah, it's like exactly. It's like when you go to a comedy show. Like you could sit there and watch a comedian like just on their special sitting on your couch, but it's not as funny as if you were there, even if they tell the exact same joke.
Yeah.
Like when you're there, your feet
It's
just
the
like
energy
them.
of the room.
Yeah,
like-
you're feeding off the crowd. Like they're laughing, so then you start laughing, and then it's a shared experience with like all these people that you would never, you don't know their name or anything, but it's just like it's an experience,
yeah.
and you
Definitely.
don't get that. So I don't know. Like despite the financial gain, because like I said, you're just gonna miss out on a lot of stuff. Like it's gonna be, and it's gonna be a very, I don't know, just a weird world if there's no movie theaters anymore. Not that like I
Very
go all the
strange.
time, but it's like I go definitely often enough and more than a lot of people. Right. And
Like of all the things that, I mean, when you set aside the human aspect, the human losses that COVID has caused, if you're talking from just a societal kind of entertainment value thing that COVID has cost people, for me by far the biggest is the loss of movie theaters. I mean, that's something I enjoy. I was one of the first people to sign up, for things like Movie Pass and for things like the monthly ticket subscription plan to my local cinema and stuff, because
Mhm.
I enjoy going to movies. That's something I enjoy a lot. I love that experience of seeing something. Yeah, and that goes back to that goes back to my childhood. And that first time you saw Star Wars on the big screen, seeing those ships and those space battles
True.
take place on those screens. I don't, like I said, unless you're Bill Gates and you're rocking a theater quality
A home movie theater, literally.
yeah, in your house, you're just not getting, like, it's cool. It's awesome to watch at home. I'll replay Star Wars all day long at home, but it's not the same.
It's really not.
There is a difference between seeing that on a 75, 80-inch screen versus a 800-foot screen.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah. With Dolby Atmos surround sound.
exactly,
I mean, it's
exactly.
shaking
Rocking
the
your
room.
chair.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
yeah. Oh man.
It's not the same at all. Like it's not the same. And like
Yeah.
that's my biggest fear with it too, is like like I said, like even if they stay open, that like they're more hesitant with even like making big movies in general because they're not getting as big of a, like, people to stop going. You know what I mean? 'Cause that's they've already experienced that, in the past, like movie theaters, just like the Blu-rays, the physical media is dying off. They're not gonna, they're no longer making physical media, like for a lot of companies aren't anyway. And like in 5-10 years, you're not gonna be able to buy those Blu-rays and stuff. They're gonna be a lot harder to come by. And it's like I'm just worried that like in the end, like just by virtue of that, we're not gonna get these big $300 million movies like Endgame, because they're not gonna be making $2.5 billion in the theater, because less people are going to the theaters anymore because they're
Yeah.
all used to on-demand streaming, and they'll just wait and blah blah blah. Like that's, and it's kind of like you said too, like Movie Pass and like AMC A List kind of like revitalized the movie industry in a lot of places, because like everybody, like every kind of company anymore is like adopting some sort of subscription plan. And it was a
Yeah.
real shame for like AMC, because they came out with AMC A List, and they finally, just before COVID hit, they were just starting to turn a profit on their A list, like all the money they sunk into creating the program. Because at first, with any kind of like startup like that, and like just with like this, they were losing money from it
Yeah.
initially. They spent like, I think it was like $5 billion to get this thing like up and going, to revamp all their theaters, put the recliner seats in, do the dine-in theaters, do the A-list thing, so you can spend $20 a month for 3 movies a week. Like it's a great deal. Like spend $20, you get to go see 3 movies a week, any movie you want, no restrictions. Fantastic deal. And they just started to make profit off that, and then boom, they had to shut everything
Drop
down,
off
and
entirely.
now they have nothing. Which is a shame, because now they're gonna have to start back in the hole. And like, if they do open back up, what's it mean for, if they're going to be working in such a big deficit? Like, this, hopefully they can, like, I don't know, hopefully like it doesn't affect the actual theater going experience. 'Cause, like
Yeah.
if they're able to reopen the theaters but have such limited funding to do so, like you're gonna have less staff, so it's gonna be a shittier experience potentially. Like, I don't know. There's just a lot of negative things that could happen from it, other than the fact that we wouldn't be able to go see movies anymore. It's much more dramatic than
I
that.
guess you just have to be positive about it, though, despite the negativity. Hope things get better.
That's just there's more. In my opinion, it's not just like I said. It's not just negative because you won't be able to go see movies. It's just like it's gonna have it has like overreaching ramifications. Time, man. Like we were saying, like just people's just the kid who's their first jobs in the movie theater, the people who own
That
the
was my
buildings,
first job.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that kid's not gonna have a job. Like the people who work there as their full time jobs, like managers there, like people who own the buildings, and like them buildings are huge and cost a shit ton of money just in rent fees.
And maintaining. And
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like the
utilities.
landowners are out. It's not just the movie theater because they're gonna have to tear the thing down. Because if you're not gonna have a movie theater to go into this giant fucking complex, it's gonna have to be remodeled to be able to facilitate something else. So it's like
Usually
huge
like mega
overarching
churches.
problem, like financially speaking. And then obviously the more cumbersome problems in that the ramifications it has on the film industry going forward, just can't make $300 million movies anymore. Streaming it's just never ending. It's a rabbit hole. It's like a YouTube rabbit hole, man. Once you start thinking about one thing, it's just gonna be like, oh yeah, then this happens, and then this happens. And
Next
this
thing you know,
happens.
you're watching how like soap's made.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have on it. So you guys got anything you want to cover on it?
I think we pretty much hit everything.
All right, I'm with you. Well, let's do our outro here then, Rick. Where can everybody find you online?
It's gonna be Sir Rick Metz down here. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me, and maybe I'll follow you back.
Oh,
Maybe.
what a treat for everybody.
Oh, I know, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody wants
Right.
that. It's
John,
so desirable.
Where can everybody find you?
I'm over on the Twitters at Nightwing_J.
All right, there it is. You can follow me at Sir Rob Bifo. And again, guys, don't forget a couple things too. One, check Honest and Uneducated is on podcast form. So if you cannot watch it on YouTube all the time, search for it on your podcast viewing app of choice. All the episodes get uploaded there. You can email us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. Submit topics, questions, whatever questions you have, any recommendations, any topics you want us to cover, just email us, honestanduneducated@gmail.com. And again, I am Rob Bifo. You can follow me right there at Sir Rob Bifo. And that's pretty much it. I'm out. Take care.